Hey guys, Devall here for ToyWorldOrder.com and YouTube.com/ToyWorldOrder. We've come to the end of yet another season of the Chicago Toy Show. The Kane County Toy Show has come and gone. There's one in April, there's one in October. We've just passed one in October. So we're done for 2016. And I have come home with a buttload of amazing, really cool stuff. So I wanted to show you guys what I found, to show you guys some of the cool stuff that we came across, and let's take a look. I found a bunch of different variety of stuff, some for Carrie, some for myself, a lot of Disney, a lot of cool stuff. One of the cool things I found was this Back to the Future book, and this is I don't know who the publisher of this was. Not entirely sure. The Hamlin Publishing Group. I'd never heard of this. I'd never seen this book, but it's a little companion book for the entire Back to the Future trilogy. And this was actually printed. This was printed and done right around the time of Back to the Future 3 was coming out. So it would have been 1990. So it would have been the latest blockbuster movie, which is Back to the Future 3. And there's a lot of great stuff in here. There's a lot of behind the scenes footage, behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of production drawings. There's some really cool stuff in this book. I had no idea this book existed. Some cool costumes. No idea this existed, and was really, really cool to find this, and really, really cool to see that. Paid a little more for it than I normally would have booked. It was like $8, and I'm like, But I knew I wasn't going to see it again. There was a dealer that had, Carrie was kind of digging through his stuff. He had a bunch of Doctor Who books, but he also had, and I've got 3 of the same ones here, but he also had these amazing, these great, I've got volumes 1, 2, or number 1, number 2, and number 3 of volume 4 of the McDonald Land Fun Times from 1982. These things are cool. These are, so there's one cover here, where with Ronald and the gang, in what looks like to be, the professor's laboratory somewhere. I've got another one here where Ronald and Birdie are playing with a toy train set, which is kind of cool. And then I have this one where they're all watching the Hamburglar. I mean, seriously. But they're just these really cool. They were just little activity books that you could get at the restaurant that they would give out to kids that you could color in and play in. They were published 4 times a year, so I have almost all of the 4th year of publishing. So those are kind of cool. You don't see these very often. And as soon as I saw it, I went back to my childhood and thought, I remember those. I remember playing in those. I remember doing the maps in those. These are really cool. The guy sold them all to us for $2. So that's a very, very cool find. I found a color form set. This was kind of neat. The pieces in here are kind of, they're all there, but they're a little beat up and a little worse for wear. But I found a Silverhawks color form set. I mean, seriously, it's friggin' Silverhawks. I had to buy it. It was $3. Like I said, all the pieces are there. You kind of hear them rattling around in there, but a really cool color form set. So another color forms piece to add to my color forms collection, which seems to be growing and growing for some weird, odd reason. I found these. These are cool. These are going to get open because they're kind of beat up, but I found the last 2 figures I need for the McDonald Land character. So I found Mayor McCheese. Check him out. Look at Mayor McCheese. Just a giant cheeseburger with a monocle. I mean, seriously, how friggin' neat is that? And then I also found the Grimace. Look at the Grimace. The Grimace was one that I had looked for a long time. Where the rest of these are kind of posable. You know, the heads move up, down, and side to side, and they're fully posable, as with Mayor McCheese. Grimace here just reads, a cuddly, soft, and squeezable figure. So, wasn't a whole lot of posing for Grimace, but I'm happy to have finished off my entire McDonald Land characters, and these, everything I have they were out of packages like this where they were beat up, but they were still on card. So these were a good deal. Like I said, they're really beat up. You can see the card on this one's rolling, and the top here, the blister, if you can tell, is just kind of starting to peel away. But those will get open. I'm going to open those here soon. We found another kind of McDonald Land piece. Now this is missing his hat, which we can actually recreate a hat. But this is actually a big Hamburglar doll. I mean, look at him. He's friggin' neat looking. He's so cool. His little tie and his Hamburglar. As well, this tie, his cape is, his tie should be under his cape, not over it. So let's fix that here real quick. Put his tie down here and put his cape around here like this. There we go. There's the Hamburglar. Robble, robble, robble. His hat was gone. His hat was just like a piece of felt with a rim around it for the hat, because you can see where it was glued at one time. I'm going to make a new hat for him, just so he's got a hat and he looks super cool looking. So $5 for the Hamburglar. That's a pretty doable thing. We found some Disney pennants, which were kind of cool. The first one we found was one that Carrie really wanted. It's kind of worse for wear. It's got a couple parts missing on the back, but this was an old Walt Disney World Frontierland pennant with Goofy on it. Of course, surprise, surprise, because it's got Goofy. So the Walt Disney World Frontierland pennant was really cool. It was really nice find. A guy had a whole stack of these for like $2 a piece, and we started digging through them, and we saw a bunch of them. We thought about making him an offer just for everything. Like, well, what would you give us? What would you want for all of it here? But as I was digging through, I found this one. A Little Mermaid pennant. Probably sold in the parks. Somebody at one time had it thumbtacked, because there are thumbtack holes in it, and it got ripped. But I had never seen a Little Mermaid pennant, and I'm guessing this probably was from around the time the film came out, because they had a couple of films from the late '80s that were pennants. These probably were sold in the parks. They were probably tied on sticks at one time, or you could just buy them like this, which is what these were for. They would tie them to like sticks so you could carry the pennants. Cool find, though. Something I didn't know existed. Something I had no idea about. I knew that the pennants were a thing, that they made pennants for a lot of stuff, but the Disney pennants were kind of cool. This is going to get kind of pieced together and put and on display, but I bought an empty cereal box for Bill and Ted's Excellent Cereal. Look at it. It's awesome. Look at the cover. It's based on the Bill and Ted's animated series. So this came out around the time the animated series was out, but it's the box is in nice shape. I just need to, fold down the edges and put it on display somewhere. So that wasn't a bad find. I opened a whole bunch of figures. Like I bought a bunch of carded stuff, which we'll get to in a minute. I want to get to the couple of things in here, and then I'll show you a bunch of the carded figures that I found. I found a G.I. Joe book and record from the original, the G.I. Joe Adventure Team. And this one is the Secret of the Mummy's Tomb, and this is great, dude. The record's in here, but the artwork is spectacular in here. I mean, the artwork is just amazing. I mean, look at that artwork. It's so cool. Something fell out of the middle of that book. I'm not sure what it was. I'll look at it later. I don't think it was anything of importance. And then I found a single from Creative Records for the Rock or Fire Explosion. So the front features Mr. Bassman featuring Fats and Billy Bob. And then the opposite side of it is Banana Hill featuring Fats. These are kind of hard to find, these little singles. I've got an album. I've got the Rock and Fire Explosions, our first album, and now I've got a single from them. They sold a bunch of these. You could win these in the restaurants when Showbiz Pizza Place was around. You could win them for tickets, or you could buy them in a lot of places. So these are kind of neat to have. Little record, which is pretty spectacular. I love some records. Kids' records were what we had before we had tapes and CDs and digital media. Before that, we had like reel-to-reel tapes, and it's crazy times, kids, crazy times. I found a mask figure. So all these cards were beat up. They either had problems, they had issues, so I'm more than happy to open them. And I did open them in the hotel. I was very excited. I wanted to play with them. But I found Belly Bustin' Mask with exploding action and squirting Milo. And Belly Bustin' Mask, his little mouth opens up. You can put the little dynamite in his mouth so he can kind of look like he's eating it. And then when you raise his arms, his belly, there we go. His belly explodes. And then the Milo figure here is actually one of those little dogs that you can actually put in water and squeeze the sides and fill him with water and squirt. Except it doesn't come out of his mouth, doesn't come out of his eyes. They literally drilled a little hole in his doggy stuff, so he pees on people. That's awesome. I love that. I love the fact that Kenner made mask figures, number one, based on the film. Number two, made a Milo with the mask. And number three, actually put in peeing action. It's amazing. That's freaking cool. I found a bunch of James Bond Jr. figures. I'm one figure away from finishing the figure part of it and one vehicle away from finishing the line. And these were Hasbro. These are awful figures. Terrible, terrible figures. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They hold a special place in my heart because they are that terrible. But I've got a bunch of them already. I've got a number of them, but I found Scuba Gear James Bond Jr. And he's fun because you could fill his chest up with baking powder. Fill it up with baking powder. Is it baking powder? Yep, baking powder. You'd fill it up, and then you put the fins and the little. He's got a little harpoon that attaches onto his arm, and then you'd put him in water in the bathtub, and he'd go blue 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 blue. He'd just dive and surface and dive and surface and dive and surface. So again, terrible figure, but of course, right up my alley. I found IQ, which this figure shows up a lot without his little. He's got this little vinyl coat on, which doesn't really work well. It's kind of silly. It just kind of hangs there. And he also came with these little pairs of glasses. That the glasses you can never find. No, I've never seen the glasses on a loose figure. They're always gone. But he also has this little action feature where when you pull the lever, this boxing glove thing pops up out of his side, and if you push the lever down farther, this boxing glove will actually fire off. But I mean, it's a cheesy action feature for a goofy character to begin with. And I wanted him for a while, but I wasn't going to buy one until I bought him on card because all this stuff was hard to find. So that was cool. A guy just had like a ton of James Bond Jr. figures. So I just kind of I just went through and was like, what do you need on all these? And he's like, I don't know, $10 a piece. So I negotiated some pricing and got him a little cheaper. I found the initial release of James Bond Jr., and he had this action figure which, when you pulled his arm back and twisted his waist, this part here, so he would, the gun, the little the briefcase that hides his gun would fly off, and he would have quick draw action. So shoot from the hip feature is what they called it, but very, very goofy, very whoa, James Bond Jr. Very goofy little feature. So I love the cards. Like anyone that bought Transformers in the vintage line will remember they all had tech specs, and you needed one of these little tech spec decoders to read it. Well, the James Bond Jr., seeing as it's a Hasbro line, they actually have all of the tech specs here. They've made their own little tech specs, which are kind of neat. And they all have them. They all have little tech specs on the back where you can actually, you can put the little tech spec decoder there, and you can see all of the mission details and the maps and all that. So very, very interesting line. About Odd Job, for anyone who's familiar with the James Bond films, Odd Job was the kind of racist Asian American character. He was very Asian looking, always dressed in a proper suit. He had a hat, though. The rim was like a razor rim, and he would throw it at people and slice their heads. Well, Odd Job showed up in the cartoon, but he's a hip hop Asian. Yeah, they went there. I don't know why they went there. But he's got hat throwing action, so you take his hat off and you put it in his hand, and then you put his arm towards his chest and let it go, and that'll fly off towards an enemy to slice and dice them. Again, it's a Hasbro line, people. It doesn't get much goofier than this stuff. Well, it can, and it has, and it probably will again. And then I bought Walker D. Plank. Terrible pun. Walker D. Plank, though, comes with a little sword and 4 points of articulation. Just his shoulders and his hips move. He doesn't have head movement, but he also has kind of what I like to call the Coleco Rambo action feature, where he's got the string, and there's a little spring in there that you pull it back, and his hook can fire. So you can actually fire his hook. Anyone familiar with the Rambo line is familiar with that action feature. And he's got a little place to hang his sword, although the sword's a little small, so it doesn't fit on there. And I didn't want to try to try to force it on there. So I didn't. So he holds it in his hand. Going along with the mask stuff, I found the Maskmobile. And this box was beat up, so of course I opened it and I put it together just because it's a ridiculously goofy vehicle. I mean, it's super, super ridiculous. Let me get it out of here. We'll just put this box. I keep all the boxes, the vintage boxes, the card backs. I tend to keep all of those because you never know. One day I may sell some of this stuff, and I'll need the boxes or the card backs just to have. Now, what's funny is I've shown you a bunch of James Bond Jr. figures, and in the line they actually had a James Bond Jr. sports car with ejector seat. And if you remember correctly, Hasbro bought Kenner at one time. So the Kenner mask line would have been before the James Bond Jr. stuff or after? I think it was after. Yeah, it was after. So Hasbro brought Kenner. They had this mold sitting around for the James Bond Jr. cars. So they created the mask car out of it. And how I know that is that it has the same hubcap features, which these pop out with a little effort. They pop out to form these like blades that he could cut into enemies with. It's got an ejector seat here, which actually is inside here. You can see on the passenger side right here. Let's see. Yeah! So it would launch the figure up. It's got fire missiles from the back, just like the James Bond Jr. car. And it looks just like the James Bond Jr. car, except for the spoiler, and except for the front piece here, which they added an extra feature to, which, watch the teeth. It has chomping jaw action, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, it can and will get sillier, and it did. It very much did. So I bought that just because there's not a lot to the Mask movie line. Anytime I can find something like that, I tend to gravitate towards it and buy it just because it's so dang goofy. And who wouldn't want it? Carrie and I found this, and I went back and bought it for her just because I'd never seen one of these. I'm sure this was an applause item, but it's a stuffed Goofy, and his feet, his head, and his hands are soft vinyl, and then everything else on him, like the ears, are fabric, and his body is stuffed in his arms and fabric and everything. So very cool. I'd never seen one of these, and I didn't. Again, there's no information on him. No, like somebody tore the tag off that was under his leg, so I couldn't tell you if it was applause or who made these, but very cool. So I went back and bought her so she'd have a new Goofy for her Goofy display. So I bought some New Adventure figures. Again, these were on beat-up cards that I opened. As you can see, I bought Spinwit, which I'll show them to you in a minute. But the card was all yellowed and kind of gross. And Spinwit is kind of fun because he's a very simple character. New Adventure stuff is so goofy, and I love it. But if you twist Spinwit's waist here, like so, and you hit the button, I love it. I love New Adventure figure, especially the second series stuff that a lot of people didn't find. It's fun stuff, dude. Fun stuff. And then I bought Flipshot, which actually Flipshot came with the... And what's weird is some of these came with comics and some of these didn't in the early figures. But Flipshot actually had the third comic for New Adventures in there, so I don't think I have the third comic. So it was a pretty cool deal. But again, his card was... It was all beat up and bent up. And the guy only wanted $10 a piece for them. So I was more than happy to give him a 20 and go, thank you. But Flipshot's kind of goofy. He's got these wings that can fold up and connect to one another. So he's got this giant arm rocket launcher thing going on. He's got a removable helmet. I mean, all their accessories come off, which is why when you see New Adventures figures, 9 times out of 10 they don't have accessories. But his action figure was kind of cool because you would rotate his arm, one complete rotation, or as much as you can rotate it. I don't want to rotate it too far because I'm afraid he'll break it. And then you slide his arm, and there's a little switch right here that when you twist it, when you push it, yeah, he would flip. Hence the name Flipshot. Again, dude, I love New Adventures figures. I think they're very underrated in the Masters community. I remember having some when they came out and loving them, but I remember they being really fragile because their little knee joints here are just these thin little plastic pieces, super fragile. I don't ever really pose them. I get them to stand and then I walk away from them because I know from past experience that they will break, that the legs will break on them and you're just SOL. I can't tell you how many Skeletors I took back because they broke. I found a bunch of board games, some really cool board games. I found an unused, this is an unused, let me take the rubber bands off here. They had rubber bands on here to kind of keep the box together. And I have, for anyone's watched Collection Expansion Extravaganza knows, I have a really, really big problem with 3D board games. I love them, especially Disney 3D board games, which is what this is because it was a Disney show technically. But it's a 3D board game of dinosaurs. You can kind of see on the back there, kind of see your board, your area there, your playing pieces. Kind of looks like the family kitchen. Looks like a very simple game. It's a very simple 3D board game. It's very cool. Throw that down there. I found another 3D board game, The Lost World Jurassic Park. This was another unused game. Like nothing in here has ever been punched out. I mean, it's all still, like the board's still there. The buildings are still on their little, cardboard sprues. But this is, yeah. It had a bunch of dinosaurs, a bunch of humans, a bunch of dice and stuff there. It was all the little buildings were 3D, so you'd have to, like, your board, you would hop across the tops of those buildings to get away from said dinosaurs chasing you. So that was a fun find. And then the two really cool board games I found. One of them, this is one that I'd wanted for a long time. This is from 1982. They did a bunch of these like kind of the simple pop-up board games with a board. You'd unfold the board, they'd pop up. But I found the Masters of the Universe pop-up game. One of the few that I don't have. I have the Disney ones, I have the Looney Tunes ones. I did not have the Masters one, and you never see it. It never pops, it never shows up. It never pops up. The spinner, of course, the pawns were really just generic little pawns, but the spinner is He-Man with the little, with the 1 through 6 there. And then the board here is the best part, because the board, when you unfold it, and it's been folded for a long time, so some of these pieces are a little weird, and they should unfold a little better than this. But you got Skeletor, you've got Beastman over here, but there's your board for this amazing piece of artwork that creates this Masters board. Why there's an American bald eagle, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. But the back of it it has artwork like He-Man was drawn on both front and back. Very, very cool. Like Beastman and Skeletor, a lot of these games had this function where you would get on these spots and then they would turn, and then there would be a hole where you would fall through. So you could essentially have your piece fall through that. And you would lose a turn if I remember right, or go back 2 spaces or 3 spaces or whatever. But very, very easy game to play. Very simple. They were all very simple. But this one's hard to find. This one's really tough to find. And the guy just had it under his table. And even though it was missing a pawn, I was like, I don't care. I'll take it. I will take it. The other board game I found, let me move some of this stuff around here, was a Mattel game from the 90s. And it's a very, not complicated, but it's got a lot of pieces. And this is actually missing a few pieces. Nothing serious. There's enough for 2 players to play. I've got enough pieces for that. I can always get some extra pieces because pieces tend to show up on eBay. But finding one of these games mostly complete is hard, and it was Mattel's Dark World. And the reason these are so hard to find is the fact that it included something like very highly detailed miniatures, like 17 or 20, something like that. But you kind of see on the back, it's got a big play board. It's got a bunch of plastic pieces. It's very in depth. It was around the time of Hero Quest and those games that had come out. It was around that time, so there was quite a few of those different types of games during that time. And this was really cool. This is one I remember having this game. When I remember seeing this game, pardon me, a friend of mine had it. I remember seeing it, and we kind of played it. We didn't really know how to play it, but we loved the miniatures and the idea of it. So very cool to find. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to have that. My buddy Dealer Dan got me a book. I've been helping him kind of sell some stuff out of his collection over the last maybe month or two. And he found me a book from ECW Press, which is Wrestling at the Chase. And for those of you who don't know what Wrestling at the Chase is, it was a spectacular wrestling show out of St. Louis. It went through the early 80s, I believe, maybe mid-80s, before WWF really took off and they kind of shuttered everyone. But this had everyone from Dick Bruiser to Harley Race to Ric Flair to Macho Man Randy Savage to just so many, Andre the Giant. So many people came through Wrestling at the Chase. And it's a really cool book. I started reading it. And in here, actually, which is my my little my bookmarks, is my buddy Eric from EK209 Toys and Collectibles. A long time ago, remembered me saying that I was missing G.I. Joe cards. I had a G.I. Joe, I bought a box of G.I. Joe cards, opened up all the packs, and of course it was missing. There were like 3 cards. I was missing 3 cards out of an entire box of stuff. And I was like, really? He gave me the 3 cards I needed. So I've got the 3 cards thanks to Eric for those, and you guys can, if you ever come around to the Chicago Toy Show, he sets up there. He's got some great stuff. Really great stuff. This is from my buddy Josh Flood. and Josh found this for me. And I got a couple things from Josh, but this is Since the World Began, and it's the first 25 years of Walt Disney World. And included in here, this was before Animal Kingdom had opened, so it was during that time, right before Animal Kingdom had opened. But there's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great pictures. It's a Disney book I haven't read yet. I hadn't had a chance to actually read. I'll put something else in there for more. Hadn't had a chance to actually read it because I could never find it. But Josh found it for me and was kind enough to gift that to me. So it was very cool. I found one of these recently, and I found a Lost World creature. But the one I found recently didn't actually have the saddle. And this one actually has the saddle on it, and his feet are bit off. So I'm going to take the saddle off this one, put it on the other one I have, and put a figure in the saddle. So, but that was $1. The guy had it for $1, probably because his feet were bitten off. Probably because some kid was like, biting the feet off and stuff. I'm going to move some stuff here. Oh, there goes the mask car. We'll just set that there. I've got one more bag of stuff here. It's an awful noise. In here, I've got some cool stuff. I got another Listen Here and See Here and Read storybook, and this one is Pac-Man, and this one goes to Pac-Man Goes to Playland, and it's another one of those great books where this was before the cartoon series, so it was based on the artwork for the arcade games. So there's a lot of cool artwork like this, a little black and white artwork, a great the record for the actual album is in there, so that's always cool. Those are always cool to find. Something else my buddy Josh Flood gave me was this is something I have not gone through yet, and these are when Magic the Gathering kind of first happened. Card games became a very, very popular thing, and these are actually the WCW Monday Nitro trading card game. There's the Buff Bagwell character card. He kind of handed me this bag and he goes, "Here, I got something for you." He handed it to me and I was like, "This is amazing." There are a butt ton of cards in here, and I have, like I said, I have not been able to go through these yet. I remember when this came out, the game was kind of complicated. It is not an easy game to learn per se. It was Wizards of the Coast, so they always tended to make things a little more complicated than they need to be. There's part of your instructions. I was always prone to WWF Raw Deal because it was a very simplistic game. It was a very easy thing to learn, a very easy thing to catch on to and start playing and building decks. This was very complicated, if I remember correctly, because we tried it once and it was not great, but I love the cards. We found some great Muppet stuff. We found a stuffed vintage Muppet babies for Baby Fozzie. I'm trying to think, I don't know if it said who made this. Toy Play LLC made these. And maybe they're not vintage. They might be a little newer, but it's super adorable. Super cute. Super cute for Baby Fozzie. Looks just like he jumped right off the screen from Muppets Take Manhattan. So that was kind of cool to find. We found that in a bunch of stuff. We also found a Baby Gonzo. Kind of just a little stuffed, kind of crazy looking Baby Gonzo who's kind of cute. He's got he's got a little eye problem there. He's like, not exactly looking at you, but looking over there. But super cute little Baby Gonzo that Carrie wanted, and we grabbed him. This was something, the same booth we found these stuffed animals in. I found this, he's kind of seen better days. I'm going to stuff him with some paper towels to give him a little bit more, body to him. But I have the Ernie. I've had the Ernie puppet like this since I was a little kid. And I found the Bert, and these, I believe, were done by Fisher-Price in the 70s, early 80s. So I found the Bert, and once I stuff his head full of some paper towels and put him next to Ernie, he'll look great. So the inside of him is starting to fall apart, though. It's starting to get all nasty and gross. We bought this little Goofy beanbag, and it's Goofy as a guest relations in the Walt Disney World Disneyland parks. So he's got his little phone, he's got his little park information. He's got his little suit on. If you open his jacket, he's got a little vest on there with his Goofy name tag on. So super adorable. And they made a bunch of these. They made Mickey as a security guard, Minnie as a monorail captain, of course Goofy as guest relations, and Pluto as the canine unit. So these were kind of cool. These were Disney theme park editions. You could only get them this with the cast member collections. Couldn't tell you what year these were. It was back when Beanies, and they're still kind of doing these, but that's pretty adorable. Carrie was not leaving without that beanie, trust me. These were cool. I found some shirt tail PVCs. So I found Digger, I found Tig, and I found Rick Raccoon. So some very cool little PVCs of shirt tails there that are kind of cool. A little dirty, but they're in pretty good shape. And those are going to go in the little. We've got a little PVC case. We keep all that stuff in. I found a couple puzzles. These are cool. These are vintage Masters puzzles with some beautiful, beautiful artwork. Some Masters puzzles I didn't have. I got these for half off, so they were like $2 a piece, which is kind of cool. These, I love finding puzzles like this. I love going to shows and finding puzzles for some reason. I don't know why, but I have good luck with puzzles. They tend not to be missing pieces. So 2 more vintage Masters puzzles to add to my collection, and there's quite a few Masters vintage puzzles that they brought out over the years. This was also something from my buddy Josh Flood. This is just a little semi-articulated Sarah from Land Before Time. Nothing extremely terribly exciting about it, but she was my favorite character in Land Before Time, so Josh was kind enough to give her to me. She's a little dirty. She get a little cleaned up here soon before I put her on display, but she got articulation in the arms and legs, so no head articulation, but little Sarah from Land Before Time. God, it's a great movie. It makes me cry every time I watch it. Very sad. And then the last thing I bought was this huge book. I think this is a newer edition of the book. This is a hard to find book, and it doesn't really go for terribly a lot. It used to go for a lot of money. It used to go for a couple $100s, and the prices have dropped recently. But the Disney dealer we bought all this other stuff had by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life. And this is this is basically the textbook for anyone wanting to get into animation. This is the thing to read. I mean, it is glorious. I've read this before. I've always wanted a copy of it. I never bought it when it came out, and I should have. I love the fact that it's like 600 pages almost, or something like that. It's ridiculous. I mean, it is a hefty book. This was printed. This version. Let's see. Let me get to the actual. Oh, this would have been first edition, third printing. So, and this came out in the early '80s, and they just kind of reprinted it over the years. But this is a nice edition to have. Guy only wanted $10 for it, so I gladly handed over the $10 to him in order to get this book, because it's just amazing. It's a beautiful piece of Disney history. So there you go, guys. There's my Kane County Chicago Toy Show haul. I hope you guys enjoyed the stuff I had to show off. We'll be going to the spring show, so anyone that can make it, check out ChicagoToyShow.com for all the details and information on the Chicago Toy Show, and you can find out upcoming dates for 2017 and so much more. Hotels around the area, stuff to do. The show's a great show. It's a really, really cool show. We got to go on a Saturday this time instead of the public day of Sunday. Just because we're working on a video project that won't be done till next year. I don't want to say too much more, but it's going to take a lot more work to get it ready. But we went there and shot a bunch of footage during setup day, and we'll do the same in the spring. But we got a chance to shop as well and found some really amazing things. Some stuff I don't think we would have seen today. Well, on the Sunday, we would not have seen it Sunday. So I was very happy to have gone. I don't think I'll ever go back on a Sunday. I think I'll always just go on Saturday during dealer setup, and whether it's because I have a table there or whether we pay the money to go in early, that is when I'm going, because it was a much better experience. I mean, there's always that experience of like the hunt and the thrill of trying to beat somebody to the punch, but it was nice to just kind of walk through the hall with not a lot of people, just the dealers and a handful of other people shopping, and just be able to shop at your leisure and worry about stuff and check things out and not have to worry about somebody bumping into you or stepping on you. So. Very cool, though. But there you go, guys. Check us out. Go to ToyWorldOrder.com and YouTube.com/ToyWorldOrder. Hit subscribe, mash the like button. Check out our sister channel, YouTube.com/BoardToTheShow. Hit subscribe on that. The board games shown in this will eventually make it one day to board, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. And gang, until next time, keep digging, because you never quite know what you're going to find. Take care. Such a silly line. So silly.